The subject enters the system at age 31. Entry classification: lottery winner. Prize amount: $1 million, pre-tax. What the file does not record is this: you are standing in a gas station parking lot when you find out, and you do not scream. You do not cry. You look at the numbers on your phone 3 times, then you go inside and buy a bottle of water you do not want, because you need something to do with your hands. The file will say you claimed the prize 14 days later. It will say you selected the lump sum. It will list the disbursement. It will note no anomalies. The file is correct about the numbers. The file is wrong about everything else. Level 1. The claim. The file calls it prize collection. You called it the day you stopped trusting your own memory. Record updated. What the record omits follows. The office is smaller than you expected. There are fluorescent lights. There is a woman behind a desk with a professional smile that has been used many times today, and you are not the reason she is tired. She hands you a form. Then another form. Then a folder. The folder contains documents that explain, in precise legal language, how this money is not entirely yours yet, not until the government has taken its portion, not until the withholding clears, not until 14 different signatures have dried on 14 different pages. You sign everything. You do not read everything. You will not admit this to anyone for years. The final number, after federal withholding, after state tax, after the lump sum reduction, is $640,000. You knew this in advance. You read articles. You prepared. And still, when the woman says the number out loud, something in you adjusts, like a picture hanging slightly wrong on a wall, not enough to fix, too much to ignore. You drive home the same way you always drive home. The road has not changed. The gas station where you bought the ticket is still there. You do not stop. That night, you sit in your apartment and the silence is different. Not better. Not worse. Different in the way a room feels different when someone has just left it, even if no one was there to begin with. The file does not record what you ate for dinner. You do not remember either. What the file does not record is that you slept 4 hours, and in the morning you were not sure you believed it. Level 2. The deposit. The file calls it asset transfer. You called it the week the phone stopped being yours. Record updated. What the record omits follows. The number clears on a Thursday. You check it 3 times before noon. $640,000 sitting in a checking account designed to hold direct deposits from a job you still technically have. You have not told your employer anything. You are not sure why. You tell 2 people. Your brother and 1 friend. This is already more than you meant to tell. Within 48 hours, you tell 3 more. This is how it begins, not with a press release, not with a party, but with a leak, slow and warm, spreading outward through the people who know you, and then through the people who know them. Your brother calls back to ask if you would help with something. He does not use the word loan. He uses the word help. You understand the difference is architectural, not financial. This section of the record is incomplete. What was withheld, the name of every person who called you that week, what they asked for, and what you said. Subscribe. The rest of the record continues as follows. You move the money to a different account. A high-yield savings account with a bank you chose because a personal finance article recommended it. The banker who helps you is 24 years old and uses the word absolutely 11 times in 30 minutes. You count them. You are doing things like this now, counting words, checking balances, performing small private measurements to prove that you are still paying attention. What the file does not record is that moving the money felt like hiding it, and hiding it felt like guilt, and guilt felt like confirmation of something you had not yet named. Level 3. The advice. The file calls it financial consultation. You called it the month everyone became an expert. Record updated. What the record omits follows. You hire a financial advisor. His office has a view. He uses the phrase wealth management in a way that suggests you have enough wealth to manage, which is technically true and emotionally disorienting. He recommends diversification. He recommends a 6-month emergency fund, which you already have now, in a specific and almost absurd way. He recommends you wait 90 days before making any major decisions. Everyone recommends this. You have read it in 7 different articles. 90 days. Wait. You wait. Partly. You pay off your car. $4,100. You do this on a Tuesday afternoon, and it takes 11 minutes online, and when it is done you feel something you did not expect. Not joy, but a very quiet subtraction of dread. A background noise you had been hearing so long you had stopped calling it noise. Gone. And what is left is not silence. What is left is a frequency you do not yet recognize. A colleague at work mentions, in passing, that she heard a rumor. She does not specify what kind. She is watching your face when she says it. You give her nothing. You have started giving people nothing, a deliberate conservation, a new economy of expression that you did not decide to adopt but find yourself practicing. What the file does not record is that you sat in your car in the parking lot of the financial advisor's office for 22 minutes before going inside, and that sitting there you felt, briefly, like the person you used to be. Level 4. The silence. The file calls it adjustment period. You called it the first time money felt like weather. Record updated. What the record omits follows. 3 months in. You have told 11 people. 11 is too many. You know this because of how differently they look at you, a shift in register, almost imperceptible, the way a room changes temperature without anyone opening a window. Some people become more careful. Some people become less. Both adjustments feel like less. You quit your job at month 4. The plan was to stay. The plan was to be sensible, to not be the person who acts recklessly. But sensibility has a texture and yours has changed. You give 4 weeks' notice. You write a professional email. Your manager responds warmly. Your colleagues take you to lunch. Someone gives a short speech. You smile at the right moments. You are performing normalcy for people who still live inside it, and the performance is loving, and the performance is exhausting. You travel. Not lavishly. You go to a city you have always meant to visit. You stay in a hotel that is better than where you used to stay. You eat at one expensive restaurant and feel self-conscious the entire meal, aware of the price of things in a way that money was supposed to cure. It does not cure it. It relocates it. You come home to an apartment that is now slightly too small, not because it shrank, but because something in you is rearranging itself, and the rearrangement requires more space than you have ever needed before. What the file does not record is that you missed your commute. Not the job. The commute. The 22 minutes where nothing was required of you except to move from one place to another. Level 5. The decisions. The file calls it capital allocation. You called it the season you learned that options are their own kind of weight. Record updated. What the record omits follows. You have a spreadsheet now. Several, in fact. One for monthly expenses. One for projected investment returns. One for the things you want to do with the money, which is a list that has been revised 14 times and is still not finished. The financial advisor reviews it with you quarterly. You have started using the word quarterly without irony, which is its own form of change. You move apartments. Not dramatically. 1 bedroom becomes 2. The neighborhood is quieter. The kitchen has a window that faces east, and in the morning the light comes through it at an angle that feels, on certain days, like something you might have arranged on purpose if you had known you wanted it. You spend 41 days researching whether to buy property. You do not buy property. The research itself costs you something: attention, time, the particular energy that goes into caring about a decision you are not yet ready to make. You file the research away. You tell yourself you will return to it. You do not know yet if that is true. Some of the friendships from before have reorganized themselves. 2 have grown closer, a specific intimacy born of your willingness to be honest with them about what this has been like, which is not what they expected you to say. Several have drifted. Not dramatically. Just a drift. The kind that happens when 2 people's days stop overlapping, when the shared complaints that used to function as currency, about money, about work, about having neither, no longer apply to one side of the conversation. What the file does not record is how much you missed having something to complain about. Level 6. The identity. The file calls it post-employment restructuring. You called it the long project of figuring out who you are when the schedule is gone. Record updated. What the record omits follows. At month 7, you start a thing. Not a business. Not yet. A project, Vague in the way that projects are when they are really questions wearing the costume of activity. You take a class. You volunteer 17 hours and stop. You read more than you have read since college. You sleep well, which is new, and you feel guilty about sleeping well, which is old. The guilt is structural. It precedes money. The money has only made it more visible. The way a light turned on in a room reveals furniture that was always there in the dark. You have what people spend their lives working toward. You have time. You have choices. You do not always know what to do with them, and not knowing feels like a failure of imagination that you are not supposed to admit. You start telling people you are figuring things out. This is true and also a careful half-disclosure. You say it at a dinner with 3 people who work full-time jobs, and you watch their faces as they nod, and you wonder if they hate you slightly, and you understand if they do, and you would not take it back, and you also would not say any of this out loud. What the file does not record is that you called your mother from the kitchen one morning and did not tell her about the money, and instead just talked for 40 minutes about nothing, and it was the best 40 minutes of the month. Level 7. The Reckoning. The file calls it Year 1 Assessment. You called it the first time you understood that security and peace are not the same address. Record updated. What the record omits follows. 12 months. The account has grown by a modest amount because the markets were cooperative and you did not do anything catastrophic and the advisor's recommendations were sound. You are in a better financial position than 93% of people your age. You have read this statistic. You believe it. It lands differently than you expected a statistic like that to land. You think about what you wanted before. Not specifically, you did not have a list, did not have a number in mind, did not play the lottery with a plan. But there was a shape to it, a general direction, which was simply less pressure, less watching the account, less calculating whether the thing you wanted was worth what it cost, less of the specific anxiety of a life measured in margins. The pressure is less. This is true. You sleep. You eat. You have not once in 12 months chosen a food based on price. These are not small things. You know they are not small things. You are careful not to minimize them. And yet, there is a version of yourself you carry around, the one who is going to feel different on the other side of this, who is going to be lighter in a specific way, uncomplicated by the things that complicated you before. That version has not arrived. Or perhaps it arrived and it looked exactly like you and you did not recognize it because you were expecting something more transformed. What the file does not record is that you sat with this for a long time and eventually decided that not recognizing yourself might mean you were finally meeting yourself, and you are still not sure if that is wisdom or something you invented to feel better. Level 8. The record closes. The file calls it Subject, Status, Stable. You called it something else entirely. Record updated. Final notation. You are not unhappy. This is important and you do not want to bury it. You have built something quiet. A life with slower mornings and fewer alarms and a kitchen window that faces east. You have learned that money solves the problems that money can solve and leaves everything else exactly where it was, patient and specific and yours to deal with. You have learned that people are not unkind. They are just reorganized by circumstance, the same as you, and the reorganization does not always align. You have learned that freedom is a practice, not a condition, and that it requires the same discipline as constraint, only pointed in a different direction. You have learned that $640,000 is a real number that does real things and is also, somehow, simultaneously beside the point. What the file does not record cannot be recorded. That is not a flaw in the system. That is the nature of the system. The document was never designed to hold what actually happened. It was designed to hold the outline, the numbers, the classifications, the dates. You are what happened between the dates. The document closes. A new file opens. The subject name is different. The entry classification is the same. What the file does not record is this: somewhere right now, in a gas station parking lot, someone is looking at their phone and not screaming, and buying a bottle of water they do not want, and everything is about to change and stay exactly the same, and they will spend the next several years learning to hold both of those things at once, and they will be all right, and that will not be the whole story.